Hey everybody, this is Shana Schutte. I want to give you some encouraging words about rejection because it's something that all of us go through. 25 or 30 years ago, rejection terrified me, and so I did everything that I could to avoid it at all costs, whether it was with a romantic interest or a roommate, whatever the situation was. And the way that I tried to avoid that was through people pleasing, which lots of times didn't work because all of us are going to experience rejection at some point in our lives. And so maybe right now you're thinking about a rejection that you've gone through recently, or maybe you're thinking about a rejection that you experienced in the distant past that really hurt you. So I want to give you 3 things that I hope will encourage you about rejection. The first thing is to remember that your relational knots may stay tangled. So when you have a situation when the other person doesn't want to reconcile and you've done everything that you can to try to make peace in the relationship the way that God would want you to, your relational knots may stay tangled. That means that you're going to have to be okay with yourself in spite of what the other person says about you. And that means that you accept God's love for you and you trust what He says about you, not what someone else says about you. The second thing is that because there's these relational knots, lots of times there's also blanks that aren't filled in. What I mean is there's going to be information and things that you're going to be missing about what actually went on in the relationship. And so you're going to reason and you're going to talk about it with your friends, and maybe if you're a female, you're going to talk about it with your friends. You're going to try to figure out what happened. But the problem is that you're missing information. And also another problem is that when we try to fill in these relational blanks, lots of times we try to fill them in with bad information. We fill them in with bad information about ourselves, or we fill them in with bad information about the other person. I mean, we can even fill in these relational blanks with bad information about God, about His love for us. And so you want to avoid filling in those relational blanks. The third thing is that you want to remember is that closure is a gift that you give to yourself. Now, if you're the kind of person who you have a sensitive conscience, you're a peacemaker, you always want all those relational knots untangled, it may be difficult because there's not going to be closure in some situations. You may never know why the other person walked away from you. In those situations, you can give yourself the gift of closure. When you give your pain to God, you forgive the other person, and you trust that He's going to weave all of it into a greater redemptive story. And if you get stuck, maybe you need to talk to a professional about it, someone who can help you move past the grief of rejection. But I just hope that these 3 things have encouraged you today, and I will see you next week.